It's 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order, assuming we haven't already. Before we get started, let's introduce everyone on the meeting. I am Patrick Hegel, and please confirm you're present and can hear me when I call your name. Starting with the commissioners, Sandra Brock.
I am here, present.
Helen Cheney.
Good evening, I am here, present.
And Jonathan Nickerson.
Present, and I can hear you.
And Alicia Bergeron is absent. And also for staff, Leah Cameron.
Present.
And Samantha Lyon.
Yeah, like the animal.
Okay.
Present.
And we have some anticipated speakers on the agenda. Scott Jordan of Ecotech. I'm not sure if they are.
It's like they're on, but I'm not sure if they're.
He's on. He could be waiting for his hearing and maybe out of the room. Can you hear us, Scott?
Do we need to wait for him to confirm, or is it okay if he's...
Why don't you check the others and I'll do a little troubleshooting off to the side.
And we have Daniel Kanata of VHB. If you're here, just say present.
You are muted at the moment, Daniel.
So they may have logged in and then are just waiting for their hearing time. There's a chance that that's the case.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Zach Couture of HS&T Group, who I do not see anyone on.
They actually ended up requesting a continuance late this afternoon, so we're not expecting him after all.
Just a quick thing on chat. Okay, so yeah, so Scott Jordan indicated that he can hear. Yeah. He was asking if you can hear us, and the answer would be no to that. And Samantha responded to that. So.
So I'll lead with some of the preamble or whatever. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone and video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is also being recorded. All supporting materials that have been provided to the Commission are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. And so before we get started, let me cover some of the ground rules that we've been following for the last few weeks for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes as well. As acting chair tonight, I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each to provide comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. After members have spoken, we will afford public comment as follows. We will read any public comments, questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and/or applicant responses. I will read real-time comments / questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board/applicant responses. Please note anyone wishing to contribute comments or questions via the chat feature that they need to be addressed to everyone, not any sole individual. And I see, oh, never mind. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, so it's 7:06, and given that we have some time before our first public hearing meeting, first public hearing, I see 2 action items, meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting minutes?
I have no comments, and I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes of May 5th, 2020.
Do I have
Second that?
Great. So we have a motion from Sandy Brock and a second from Helen Cheney. Sandy, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
Helen?
I vote in favor as well.
Jonathan?
In favor?
And I vote yes as well. This motion passes to accept the May 5th meeting minutes. Leah, is the second action item, review Brooks Family Trust intent to purchase, is that something we can cover now? Do we have
Yeah,
time?
that should be quick. Let me just find the plan here, 1 second. Okay, can you guys see that plan?
Yep.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so this is on East Street. And so the Brooks Family Trust owns a few of these lots. And what they are looking to do and sent the town notice about is to remove 2 of these pieces from chapter land in order to combine them with the lots in front of them. So if you can see my cursor, it would be this piece here, which is 44 rear. And then 46 rear is this one here. And they would get combined with the lots ahead of them on East Street. This lot 1 on the side, parcel A here, as well as parcel B out in the back would stay in chapter land. So the town got the notice that we need to provide our comments to the select board about if we have any interest in the right of first refusal on this property.
So Leah, this is Sandy Brock. Could you actually do a map, because I live right up the street,
Sure.
and I don't live that far from Snow Road, so I'd like to figure out how close I am. Okay. Those are the lots, and I live east of there, and it would be, okay, I'm still a little bit further up, so that I should be fine. So yeah, so if it's 100 feet, I'm more than that. I'm probably about 300 feet from that intersection. So
Okay.
I just wanted to disclose that.
So the question is, do we have any comment on moving it
Out of chapter land.
out of chapter land? Does anyone on the board have any comments on that? Thoughts?
I have a question. Helen
Sure.
Cheney. That this parcel is horse pasture,
That's
if
correct.
I'm from, yeah. So they'd probably be cutting down on the horse pasture or cutting back on their horses, and then these parcels would be given or absorbed into the Brooks family? So are they just downsizing and taking them out of the open chapter? Is that what this is?
So I believe
this term.
the main idea is that they would not be, because I think they produce hay now is the way that they have them filed. So they would be decreasing the amount of land that they produce hay off of to get that chapter land status. And then this amount would be combined with those lots up front. They detail it a little bit in this document up here.
And so this is just combining that larger parcel of land into a few existing single family residences. Is that right?
Correct. So this one, for instance, is, let's see, give me 1 second. You gotta pick out the language here. So lot 42, they intend to convey lot 42 to Philip Brooks from the trust is the first one. Then the second one is, sorry for all the scrolling. Second one is 44R. The lot will become part of 44. So going back to the map, this is 44.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't show it on here, but they have it on this one. 44R is this piece here. So they want to take 44R and combine it with 44 up front.
And it's a large
And
piece
then-
of that, sorry.
I was just going to say, and then they want to combine okay, so they drew, sorry, this gets confusing. 44R, they want to combine with 44 up front.
Yeah.
46R, they want to combine with 46 up front. So I believe right now this is not split up, as you can see on map geo here, but they are looking to do so and add square footage to those lots. And then leave the remainder in chapter land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, in Leah, just to, this is Sandy, just to clarify. So the reason we're reviewing it is to see if there's any particular reason that the town wants to purchase it for any reason.
Correct.
And so, you're looking at a fairly small area. You see the Grafton Water District. There is a well back there. The access to the water district is right on the west side, right next to lot 1. Yep, that goes back. So that actually goes back to the water district. Other than that, there's no other kind of open space. And when you look down, you can see where the railroad tracks go through. And no, that's the Upton, is that the Upton Railroad that goes through there?
Yep.
So, so there really isn't a whole lot. You can see that map, that's the town or the Commonwealth. So there's not,
So,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. The state owns this and we do own this little triangle over here.
Yep.
But what they're looking to
Right.
To convert would be isolated from those things. There's at least this house lot down here.
Yep.
And the additional land they would still have in chapter land, and then it would be this little bit up here.
And so that's exactly what I was getting to. It's kind of isolated. It's not a budding
Yep.
open space in the sense of land that we own for the town. And the railroad goes right through there. That's it. So
Is it chapter A or B? Do you
One
know?
second.
$61A.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see any reason that the Conservation Commission should recommend to the selectmen to pursue these parcels here.
Yep. Do we need to take a vote on this, or is it,
Yeah, that would be helpful.
okay. So, would we want a motion on, to say that we're not
Sure, this is
recommending?
yeah, sure. This is Sandy Brock, and I will make a motion that the Conservation Commission recommends to the selectmen that yeah, there should be no attempts to pursue purchasing lots 42, 44, 46 East Street.
And do we have a second?
I second that motion.
So motion from Sandy and a second from Helen. And so Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So the motion passes. Okay. So I think that's for it for action items, and it's past 7:15, so I'll jump over to public hearings. And 58 Potter Hill Road. Do we have someone here for that?
So we have Scott Jordan, who I've been trying to troubleshoot with. He did the raise your hand button, so I can hit allow to talk if you guys are ready.
Okay, I'll open it up then. So notice intent, 58 Potter Hill Road for an in-ground pool pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 at 7:15 via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of an in-ground pool at 58 Potter Hill Road, Grafton, Mass. The link and access to information for the meeting will be posted on the Conservation Commission page on graftonmass.gov. And the application is on file and available electronically for public inspection. So if Scott is ready, why don't you go ahead and tell us about this one?
Scott Jordan, can you hear us?
I see two Scott Jordans, one's muted and one's not.
The muted one is not letting me unmute him, so that's on his end.
Okay. Have you heard from him at all through chat or?
No.
Yeah. Oh. I was just unmuted. Scott, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
So he's clicked on the raise hand button a couple times, but I don't know how else to reach him. Other than there's chat and trying to talk, and
Yeah.
I have him permissions to allow him to talk as an attendee as well as a panelist.
Yeah, he could be muted on his end. If he's on his phone, it looks like he's dialing in. I'm not sure.
Am I preventing him from coming on? Should I click on the mute to make it muted?
You're all set.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So he's.
I hear voices.
That shouldn't impact it, Ellen.
Okay, thanks.
So I had one more button that was promote him to a panelist from his attendee. One of the screens he has on is an attendee, one is a panelist. I promoted the attendee one to a panelist as well. Still not getting anywhere.
Scott, if you can hear us at all, can respond in the chat as well.
Keeps disconnecting and connecting.
I think he's trying to get out and get back in. Depends upon, on his end, if he's got a mic set up and how he's getting in and so forth.
Yeah.
He's trying to. So it looks like he's in on one device and trying to get in or call in. I guess, yeah. We have a call-in number, Leah, for this.
Yeah.
So I would suggest when he comes back on that we ask him to actually dial in, if nothing else.
That's what he had done on the
Okay.
side. He had both versions.
Gotcha. Well, looks like he's connecting audio. He's muted now.
You need to be unmuted
Scott, can you unmute yourself?
again.
Bottom left-hand corner of the box.
And Leah, you've been trying to unmute him, correct?
Correct. It doesn't work on my end.
Are any of the call-in numbers?
It looks like he's unmuted now. Scott, can you hear us? Like he's having a bit of technical problems. This is the first time we've had this much issues, but
Yeah, we've been lucky so far.
Yeah.
If you guys want to give him a little bit of time to do his troubleshooting, you could do the continuances. There's like 6 of them.
I can start reading those.
Yep.
I don't need to close anything to reopen it for this, right? Since we've already started talking about it.
I mean, he's still actively trying to get on. We can just make a motion to, temporal. I don't know how you would do this because we've done it before. Do we close the hearing and reopen it, Leah, or do we just leave it open?
I mean, you could do a motion to continue it to 7:35 or something. I mean, but we have a 7:30, so 7:45, something like that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to continue 58 Potter Hill Road until 7:45 due to technical problems, and hopefully we can sort them out.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
I vote as well. Motion passes. I vote yes as well. So we'll continue that for the 20 minutes from now. And I'll read through some of these continuances in the meantime until our 7:30. 80 Snow Road, Lot 2, duplex. Applicant has requested a continuance to 6/16 pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands. Sorry, 1 second. Just opening a different document. Pursuant to Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom to act upon an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a duplex at 80 Snow Road, Lot 2, Grafton, Massachusetts. The applicant has requested a continuance to June 16th.
I make a motion that, excuse me, this is Sandy Brock. I make a motion that we continue the hearing for 80 Snow Row until June 16th.
I second that.
Thank you. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we'll continue that to June 16th. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom to act upon an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a duplex at 80 Snow Road, Lot 3, Grafton, Massachusetts. The link and access information for the meeting are posted on the Grafton Conservation Commission website. The applicant has requested continuance to June 16th.
This is Sandy Brock. I make a motion that we continue 80 Snow Road, Lot 3 to June 16th.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Try to go for one or two more.
I'd go for one more.
One more?
Yep.
Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent, application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit, and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a 10-lot subdivision at 18 Carroll Road called Abbey Woods in Grafton, Massachusetts. The application is on file and for public inspection in the Conservation Commission office as well. The applicant has requested a continuance to June 16th.
This is Sandy Brock. I make a motion that we continue 18 Carroll Road to June 16th.
Okay.
I second that motion. Helen Cheney.
Thank you. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So I'll move on to, being at 7:30, I'll move on to the next public hearing. Route 122 Main Street, Town of Grafton, DPW, for roadway reconstruction. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom to act upon notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permits, the construction of roadway improvements along Main Street, Route 122A in Grafton. The link and access to information will be posted on the Grafton Conservation Commission website. Okay, do we have anyone here for that? That's signed in.
Yep, this is Dan Kanata, environmental scientist from VHB.
Great.
And also have Greg Russell on the line as well, project manager from VHB.
All right, welcome.
So we have one thing that we need to cover before we start this off, and that is the abutter notification. We received your green cards, but we don't have green cards for absolutely everybody, which is no fault of your own because not everyone signs for their mail, but we do not have the either certificate of mailing or the white cards associated with them to prove that it was sent to everyone.
Okay, I can check in with our administrative staff and forward those to you either after the fact, or I can look into it now if that works too.
Do you have any knowledge of whether they cross-checked that everyone on the list got one or not? Or are you not involved in that step?
They part of the process is to go through and make sure those are distributed, and they would address everyone who was listed on our the abutter list that was received from the town, the certified list.
Okay, Sandy, how should we proceed here?
So we have a couple of different options here. We can open the hearing based on the green cards that we have and based upon the applicant's kind of testimony. I wouldn't close the hearing. That's the only thing I would wait to do. So I've had this come up a couple different times, and it's at the discretion of the commission, especially because we do have a portion of the green cards, and I think if the applicant can indicate that that they do have the certificate of mailing or the white cards, I mean whatever you happen to have, and that we just need to check that. So this is for the applicant. The downside, if you find out when you check with your admin folks that they're not all been sent out for some reason, then we would have to, basically close the hearing and actually re-notify. But if you have notified everyone, then we're following due process. It's just that we wouldn't really want to close the hearing tonight without that information. So, and again, it's a long linear project. There's a lot of abutters, so we understand we're not going to get all the green cards, just as Leah said. We just need that, the demonstration or a certificate of mailings. That's kind of more, in some ways, more important than the green cards. It's great to get the green cards, but more importantly is to demonstrate that you actually have milled it out. And the green cards can demonstrate that, but only if you get them all back. That's usually pretty unlikely. It takes a while for some of them to come back as far as the envelopes and stuff. So,
right.
So I would kind of, first defer to the applicant and ask them what their wishes is as far as tonight. If you have confidence that everything was sent out and that you'd like to proceed, or we cannot open the hearing and basically just schedule it for the June meeting. That's up to you. And just as long as you understand that if for some reason notification hasn't been done, we'll have to re-advertise. That's pretty straightforward. For us, we just wouldn't close the hearing because we don't have that notification. So, and then if there isn't notification, we'll be doing this all again at some point in June. So I'll kind of defer to the applicant because there's certain risks that goes along with it. And then I would check with the rest of the commissioners. I mean, to me, we can hear it. We can talk about it. I just wouldn't make any motions or close it. I would continue it. just in case notification hasn't been made. Leah, does that sound pretty straightforward? I've had commissioners go both ways on this.
So just playing that out, if we open tonight and start the hearing,
Yep.
and we get that proof and it all checks out, then
Yep.
that's great. If we get the proof and it does not check out, then we do what?
Then the application would be withdrawn without prejudice, and then you'd have to re-advertise and so forth. So basically, it's like the meeting never happened. I mean, because you just end up getting withdrawn. I'd have to actually check in it even further. Yeah. So that's always to the discretion of the commission. That's the way I understand it. So
we do also have Brian Cizerko, the town engineer, on here. He's just an attendee, so we can't see him, but he wrote in the chat, as long as waiting doesn't prolong the acquisition process, we're all set. But this is time sensitive from a MassDOT standpoint.
So I would go ahead with it, and if everything's okay, then you're looking at the next hearing just to if we kind of discussed everything, the presentation be made, abutters been notified, they have the opportunity, then it's a continuance, and then you just wrap it up then.
Just checking one thing, and that is the deadline for that meeting, and that has not come up yet. So worst case, we're given that file, it doesn't check out, we would still be able to re-advertise for them to just restart June 16th. So either way, you're looking at June 16, whether it's a restart or a continuation.
And again, I guess I would be, my inclination is defer to the applicant on which way they want to go. For my perspective, yeah, it's going to be, like you said, Leah, it's going to be June 16th, no matter what. It's just whether we hear anything. And I don't know if anyone else is online, and typically, if someone has shown up, in the meeting, I don't have a problem with them hearing what the presentation is. But so I guess this would just go back to the applicants on what your feeling is, as far as you want to go ahead tonight or not.
I think as Brian mentioned, from a timing standpoint of the project, I think we'd like to move forward with the hearing so that we can, if there are any comments, we have the ability to address them in advance of a second meeting if that is required, just so that we can kind of get this all moving forward.
Yeah.
If that's okay with the commission.
Yeah. And if we didn't have any green cards, if we had, then I would say something different. If we didn't have any proof of mailing, it's really about the completeness of that and having the correct documentation. So, and just for the applicants, what we have is you guys submitted the abutters list, which is absolutely fine. It's supposed to be there, and you submitted all the green cards that you have gotten back. What we're missing is the certification of mailing, or as Leah's saying, the white receipts that show that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we should be able to get the stamped receipt forms from the post office. It's just getting them from our admin.
Right. So I guess I would just like to, through Patrick, is check in with what other folks on the commission, what their feelings are.
Well, I'll put that out to the commission then, as Sandy noted, if anyone has any comments. I do not.
Helen Cheney here. I have no comment.
No comments.
Any last words, Leah? Or are you uncomfortable doing this, or?
No, it sounds okay. Brian is writing more and more in the chat that it's very time sensitive. So
why don't we go ahead, and hopefully you guys, yeah.
I was just going to say the town is the applicant, so.
Yep.
To defer to them.
Yeah. So I even though I'm deferring to the applicant, it doesn't matter if it's a town or anyone else. have the same conversation. So,
No, I
So-
mean, I was just clarifying that Brian works for the town and he's
Oh,
the one
okay.
typing in
Yep.
the chat. That's all I'm saying.
sure. So then we'll just turn it over to the applicant, and you guys can do your presentation.
All right. Thank you. Greg, do you want to start off with just a description of the project?
Sure. Like Dan mentioned, my name's Greg Russell. I'm the project manager for VHB, the town's design consultants for the Main Street Reconstruction project. This is approximately 2-mile long corridor running along Main Street in South Grafton from the Sutton Town Line to Providence Road at 122.
If I can just interrupt you for 1 second, I'm happy to pull up any visual you'd like. Just let me know. Just point me to what you would like on the screen.
I'll let Dan pull that one when he gets ready. But
Okay.
just in general, we're doing this project is intended for roadway rehabilitation. We have a mix of treatments, including mill and overlay, full depth reclamation, and full depth reconstruction. We have some minor drainage improvements, primarily replacing existing catch basins with deep sump catch basins as needed. We're not intending to overhaul the existing drainage system. We're not proposing any major widening. In some cases, we're talking about narrowing the roadway. We are proposing a sidewalk for the entire length of the project on both sides, except over the railroad bridge just east of Ferry Street, or like Ferry Street, Saunders, the historic society. And so that's the general extent of the work. This is scheduled for the 2021 State Central Mass TIP Transportation Improvement Program. It's currently funded for approximately $10.2 million on that TIP. It's scheduled for advertisement next February. And Mass DOT will be overseeing the construction. So they will have a full-time resident engineer on site to oversee the construction. Once we just submitted the 100% design on last Thursday night. That is our next step, is completing this and then moving on to a PS&E submission. As Brian mentioned in the chat, the town does have appraisers on board to begin the right-of-way process, and this is one of we're looking to finalize this so we can finalize the right-of-way so that they can begin the appraisal process, because the project cannot be advertised until Mass DOT has certified the right-of-way. So that's the general project description. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and he can identify the highlights of the environmental permitting.
All right, great. Thank you, Greg. So if for visual aid, the most recent plan set that we provided, it's not necessary to have it up, but if anyone feels like that would be helpful, we could share that. I'm sure you all have access to digital copies as well too.
Since this is go ahead, Lee. I was going to say it's a public hearing. We want to share it on the screen.
Sure.
Pulling it up right now. What page would you like?
That is a good question. Well, I think the most applicable area to show is going to be on.
I know you've got a few pages with wetlands, and then you've got the canal and the river. So
yes. So I think start with page 17. This is for the areas around the Blackstone.
This one?
Yes. So the majority of our wetland resource areas in the project area are associated with the Blackstone River or are the river itself. It is going to require work within the riverfront area, which is really in the entirety of the project limits degraded and developed from its natural state because of the existing roadway that's in place there. As Greg was discussing, there's some minor widening throughout portions of the project limits. Within riverfront area, this is going to result in about 1,140 square feet of increase in impervious, and that is necessary to provide a consistent roadway layout throughout this area. Otherwise, areas are going to be, if they're disturbed, they're going to be permanently stabilized by either revegetation or by resurfacing of the roadway. The bulk of the work in the riverfront area is actually within the existing roadway pavement itself. There is also work in bordering land subject to flooding. However, this is not going to result in any change to flood elevations, as we're going to be maintaining existing elevations within the roadway and the surrounding layout there. Additionally, we do have minor impacts. It's all temporary impact to bordering vegetated wetland. And this is a result of how close these wetlands are to the roadway layout. So when we're installing our erosion and sedimentation control program for the project, it's going to result in temporary impact to approximately 65 square feet of wetlands. And that will be mitigated by installing a wetland seed mix prior to or following the disturbance of that site.
Okay. Does anyone on was that everything for now? To start with?
Yes, and we're happy to take any questions.
Does anyone on the commission have any questions, comments?
Sure. This is Sandy Brock. Just some quick general questions. You noted that there's going to be some minor changes in the width, some narrowing, some widening. When you say some, what does that mean? 6 inches, 6 feet, and I'm only interested in the areas that are within resource areas or buffer zones. If you're widening something someplace else, I'm not going to really have a comment on it. And then the other one, you said you're adding sidewalks. Are there existing sidewalks now? Those are my two questions.
So this is Greg again. For the sidewalks, for the western part of the project, in most cases, there's a single sidewalk on the north side of Main Street. We are proposing to add a second sidewalk on the south side. So that's a fair amount of the additional impervious area that is being proposed. In many cases, that sidewalk is actually within the existing roadway pavement. This particular, the cross section that's being proposed is 2 11-foot travel lanes, 2 5-foot bicycle lanes, and 2 5.5-foot sidewalks. These, going through the project, the roadway width along Main Street varies anywhere from 30 feet to 40 feet, depending on where you are. So for the most part, we can fit the entire cross section within the existing pavement width. In some cases, we're kind of shifting it. So there's widening on one side, narrowing on another. Like for instance, we did get for instance, on page, looking at down by, before you get to Saunders Ave to the west end of the project, we did get a waiver for a narrow sidewalk. A standard sidewalk through ADA is 5.5 feet. We got a waiver through Mass DOT to go down to 4.5 feet to minimize any impacts to wetlands. And I believe that's part of the temporary impact for the silt fences to install that sidewalk.
That's correct down there, Greg.
So, and then and I think that's really the only area in a buffer zone where we're introducing impervious area. I think I'd have to go through and check, but that was that we're adding a 4.5 foot sidewalk where there's no sidewalk currently, which is crossing a culvert, which is shown around station 106. It's on sheet 10 of the plans I'm looking at.
And just a quick follow up on that one. You know, so just a ballpark, you know, in the application it talks about your, altering, 10%, altering 1,400 square feet in the riverfront, and that's a fairly small alteration in that length of roadway. Is that all that's happening within the wetland resource areas, or is there additional in some other buffer areas?
Yeah, so this is the main area of disturbance. There is some minor disturbance along the sidewalks, where we're widening sidewalks or installing curbing down by the canal and the Blackstone, where we're tying in just as you go over the Blackstone Bridge. There's some work in the riverfront area just for grading purposes, but there's no change in the grading. So
And then one of the question is, you indicated that some of the existing drainage structures, catch basins and so forth, are being replaced with deep sump catch basins. How many new structures? I have no idea how many there are along this length of roadway, but
there's a lot.
yeah, that's what I figured. And I'm looking for order of magnitude. Are you replacing half of them, or is it more just a few of them in certain locations?
So we are installing about 90 new catch basins.
Okay.
I'm going off memory here, but we're installing 90 new catch basins. Some of those are double catch basins to minimize spread, where we have where it's flat. In other areas, we are also adjusting a large number of catch basins, and the new ones are going to be adjusted as well. So I'd say there's about, based on that, I'm going to guess there's about 50 or so or 20 or so that are staying. I can't guarantee that. All the frames and grates are going to be changed to bicycle accommodating ones, so the cascade grates.
And do you know if the existing catch basins have deep sumps in them? I'm just looking because if you're going from an older catch basin without deep sumps and you're switching to deep sumps, that's an improvement in water quality.
Some of them do. It's more like the ones down by the park, between the canal and the river. I believe those are deep sumps, and then there's intermittent ones along the way that have been installed as road work has been done, but a fair amount of them are not.
Okay.
If that,
yeah, I know. I'm for a linear project like this, I'm not looking. I know there's hundreds of structures there, and again, this is it's meeting all the MassDOT stuff. So.
And I also will note that all catch basins, whether they're remaining or any remaining structures, will be cleaned, and the pipes will be cleaned as well as part of this project, and that material will be disposed of offsite.
Okay, that's all the questions I had, Patrick.
Thank you, Cindy. So I'll open it up to the rest of the board, Helen or Jonathan, if you have any questions, comments.
I have no questions at this time.
I don't have any questions at this time either.
I do not either. So I'll open it up to if there's any public comments. There's the chat function. If there's anyone out there that has any comments on this project, please go ahead and do so.
I just wanted to jump in. I was able to obtain the USPS mailing forms here with the stamps for the abutter notifications, so I can send that along right now to Leah and Samantha.
Thanks.
Great.
That's great. But you still don't have your DEP number either.
We actually received
It
that
actually
today
came through this
Oh, cool.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
at the
Okay.
last minute.
Good timing. So was there any comments from DEP, Leah?
I believe, and you guys can correct me if I'm remembering wrong, the only one was that they confirmed you don't need the 401 water quality certification unless something changes.
That's correct. Based on our review of the comments, that's what we had heard.
Okay.
And there's one comment from Brian, although it's more of a general comment, I think. If we have that stuff, can we vote? Can we vote on it tonight, or are we still continuing to June
We
16th?
can't without confirming everyone was sent an abutter notification.
Oh, okay. We're still waiting on the part.
So yeah, so they sent in basically the proof of mailing. It's just that when you get it, during the hearing, it's how many abutters are there? I mean, I'm sure. Yeah,
We can't cross-check it this minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
But I do feel more comfortable about voting on the waiver for working in the no disturb zone.
Okay.
You can take that vote if you want.
In that case, would you like to make a motion on that, Cindy?
Sure. And just for clarification, this is a waiver from the local bylaw that requires 25-foot no disturbance. And the disturbance that we're talking about is within the roadway layout in general. So they need to get the waiver. So I'll make excuse me, I'll make a motion that we grant a waiver for the 25-foot no disturbance under the local bylaw for 122 Main Street project.
Second that motion.
Thank
Helen
you.
Cheney.
Thanks. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
So Patrick, if you want to just read in Brian's comment for the record.
All right. Brian comments that he started the process in 2011, 2012 with former planner Steve Bishop. He just wants to have it on record that it's been almost 10 years to get to this point. Has nothing to do with conservation. Conservation has been great. I just want it on the record that a process that involves state and federal funds takes an exorbitant amount of money, time, and energy to qualify for funding. That was Brian's comment in the chat. So is there anything else to discuss on this one, or should we continue it to June? Or does their continuance need to be requested?
Continuance needs to come from the applicant.
Would the applicant like to request a continuance to our next meeting?
Yeah, we'll request a continuance to the June meeting.
So I'll make a motion to continue this public hearing to June 16th.
And
I
do we have-
second that. Helen Cheney?
Thank you. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. The motion passes. Okay. We'll see you guys on June 16th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Scott hasn't showed up again. At least
Yeah,
I haven't seen him.
I
Oh,
see
he's
him
back.
in the attendees.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much
Eureka!
for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Microphone issues for some reason. I was scrambling, trying my best. Thank you again for delaying for a pinch for me.
I just have one quick question. Do we need to read the ad again?
I would, just to be safe.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just like, yeah. And there's no questions.
58 Potter Hill Road for an in-ground pool pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 at 7:15 via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for construction of an in-ground pool at 58 Potter Hill Road, Grafton, Massachusetts. Information is available on the Grafton, Massachusetts, on the Grafton Conservation Commission webpage. So Scott, if you'd like to go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. So Scott Jordan from Ecotech. I'm not sure if the applicant, Jerry Dovale, is on.
Yes, he has called in, so he's
Okay.
watching as well. And
Okay.
whenever you would like, just let me know and I can pull up your plan.
That'd be great, Leah, if you could do that.
Sure, 1 second.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so Ecotech was on this property last July to evaluate for resource areas. And the proponent was considering installing a pool in his backyard. So we found a wooded shrub swamp in his backyard, just beyond his backyard. Typical red maple type of swamp, and that was delineated with flags A1 to A6. The applicant, Quinn Engineering, has put together the plan here. What the applicant is proposing to do is to construct an in-ground pool and patio off the back of the house so they can walk right out to it. There's also consideration for sun and shading considerations for the location of the pool. So the project includes removal of the existing deck, installation of the in-ground pool, and a paver patio. Of course, we'll have a fence around the pool. We have to relocate a foundation drain that's shown to the right side of the plan, and some grading. On the west side of the pool area, that's mainly shaping, really not much fill there. The pool patio is pitched slightly to the west. So we expect runoff to flow in a westerly direction, and Quinn has designed a grass swale to carry any runoff around the corner and towards the wetland. On the northeast side of the pool, we do have a few feet of fill we're going to have to bring in and some grading in that area. And we do have on the next sheet our erosion control barrier shown. Leah, I don't know if you can get to. Yeah, so we've proposed a wire-backed silt fence. So we're going with a much sturdier type of device here. It's something I've started speccing and using on construction sites, and it works very well, holds up very well. Quinn has designed an area for stockpiling, and we have a dewatering area if needed. That's comprised of a silt fence, and you butt that up with hay bales for support and a little bit more filtering. Of course, that's on the upgrading side of the silt fence. And I believe that is all of the proposed work, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Hello?
Thank you. So the existing plan is within the no disturb area?
Correct. I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt. That was a point I wanted to make. A portion of the work is located within the 25-foot setback. We have submitted the filing fee and the request for waiver for that. The bulk of that work is within existing law, and I wanted to make sure you noted that.
Oh, let me open it up to the commission for any questions, comments.
So this is Sandy Brock. Looking at where the edge of lawn is your edge of lawn isn't right along the wetlands. There is a transition area there. I guess I need to know why you're going into the no disturb. Other than that's what you want. I mean, we're pretty. We try to follow our local bylaw and not have disturbance within the 25 feet, and that just allows a protection area for the wetlands. And I can't see a reason why you're doing that much fill and you're within a couple of feet of the wetlands. I guess I need a little bit more explanation on why you think you should be able to fill there, and just because it's grass doesn't really, to me, I don't understand that. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. We really try to hold, and it's not a 25-foot buffer. It is a 25-foot no disturb. So you should probably update the plans.
Yeah, so excuse me, Scott Jordan again. I don't know if Mr. Dovale is able to speak.
He would have to type in the chat unless the commission wants him to turn on his microphone. But we try to keep it to one panelist per hearing to not have it bogged down too much.
Sure. Yeah, so this is the proposed project. I understand it's within the 25-foot setback. And I do understand that the fact that it's lawn, it does not dismiss that. I've seen the commission rule that way on other projects. We were hoping if the commission, I've seen on other projects, had suggestions for possible mitigation type suggestions that where we may be allowed to go ahead and encroach into the 25-foot.
Yeah, this is Sandy Brock again, and I mean, the times that we allow that kind of encroachment is like a driveway coming into a lot where they don't have a choice. You know, in general, you know, homeowner wants to put a pool in their yard. We have no issues with that. It's just when you do a design where you're a few feet off of the wetlands, and there is a no disturb zone, and it just appears that you know, you haven't presented any kind of enhancement, mitigation, or any other thing to offset that going into that 25-foot. So I guess I'm looking for the applicant to kind of list the reasons why they feel and what they're going to do to help protect the wetlands. You've got a slope down into the wetlands. You're not even doing retaining walls. I just need to have some more information on why you're working with a 25-foot. I mean, you're within the whole project is within the 100-foot buffer. Again, I don't think as a commission we have an issue with that or have an issue with putting a pool in the backyard. There's nothing like that. It's just that 25-foot no disturbance, and that's there because it is our charge to protect the wetlands, and the best way to do that is have an area that's protected so that people don't infringe into the wetlands themselves.
So Patrick, the homeowner has written in the chat if you'd like to read his comments.
Yes, this is from the homeowner, and I'll just read it verbatim from Jerry DeVale. He says the house casts a rather large shadow in the backyard, which covers a large portion of the yard. The pool was pushed back to maximize the amount of sun on the pool and to reduce other costs associated with maintaining the pool. The pool would be a mineral pool to minimize chlorine.
Yeah, this is Sandy Brock again. I appreciate the fact that it's a mineral pool and that, you know, you're not using chlorine and so forth. Even if you were using chlorine, you wouldn't be able to discharge to the wetlands anyways. But I mean, I think that's a more environmentally friendly way of doing your pool. And again, we have no issues with putting the pool back there, but it's just the regulations are pretty clear. No disturb is no disturb, and I may understand about the sun and so forth, but maybe being a little bit more creative in how you do the design. It's not that you're going in and it's 22 feet off of the wetlands, you're 4 feet off the wetlands, or whatever that dimension is, looking at the plan. So it's right tied up to right the wetlands. And again, you got to offset that somehow. You got to create a unique circumstances. As a commission, our responsibility is to enforce the regulations. And that's all we're trying to do.
So if I can just add one different comment in as well. One of our standard conditions always says stockpiling shall occur outside of the buffer zone. So you might want to look at moving the location of that proposed stockpile as well.
Yeah, we can look into that for sure. And if there are any other comments that the board has that we can take into consideration if we need to go back to the drawing board here. DEP did have a couple of comments. They were minor in nature. We wanted to hold off and talk to the commission before we threw those on any revised plans. I think they requested a wattle in front of the silt fence and some stone check dams in the grass swale, which perfectly reasonable. we can do those if there's another iteration of the plan. So
And I think you should just think about, you're asking for a waiver. We have to have a finding why you're doing that. And again, it's pretty straightforward in the regulations. And right now I'm not hearing, and yeah, I understand you want to have more sun, but we're trying to protect the wetlands. So maybe just a little more on what you're doing and what you could do to mitigate that impact. How you're going to, our number one thing is to protect the wetlands, and this particular layout, especially the grading, doesn't seem to respect that no disturb. So it's kind of up to the applicant on what they want to do next. I don't know how much further direction we need to give. I think when you have a 25-foot no disturb zone, it's pretty self-explanatory.
okay. I don't know if Mr. Dovale can hear me, and if he would like to send in on the chat a request to continue, and we can see if we can possibly get a new iteration of this plan, or what his thoughts are.
Yep. And again, we don't want to stop him from putting a pool in there. We just need to follow the regulations.
The homeowner comments in the chat that he says, if I pull the entire project towards the house and beyond the 25-foot zone, do I have to come back in front of the commission?
So the answer is yes, because we would just continue to June 16th. Obviously, if you did that, that would be, a response that we could totally understand. And the kind of minor comment that Leah had about the stockpile, that's an easy change. And then just what the DEP has said as far as their comments. So those are fairly straightforward. But if you did do that, obviously, and we can check with everyone else on the commission. Really, the only main thing that I have an issue with is the impact of the 25-foot no disturb. That's all.
Yeah, does anyone else on the commission have any comment on anything else?
I just support Helen Cheney here. I just support Sandra's comments, and I don't have any other thing to add to that, but I do think strongly and agree with Sandra.
And the homeowner just wrote in, he says there is no possibility to build within the 25-foot zone.
So this is Sandy Brock again, and again, it's under the regulations, we have a 25-foot no disturb. We have a waiver process, which under this application, you actually ask for the waiver. So it's not that we cannot allow work to happen within the 25-foot. We just need to be able to protect the wetlands, and we look to the applicant to come up with creative ways if you were to encroach on the 25-foot. How are you either enhancing other areas, or how are you protecting the wetlands? On this particular submission where you're going right up to the wetlands, we don't see any ways of what you're doing is enhancing or protecting the wetlands. So it's not a hard, it is in the regulation as no disturb, but there is a waiver process, but you have to demonstrate why. Each case is unique, and we have to do findings for each application. So if we do issue a waiver, we have to have a reason to do it.
And just to cover the rest of the commission, Jonathan, do you have any comments?
No. I also support what Sandy was saying with potentially shifting or the homeowner coming up with some other solution.
Yep, I also agree. No desire to prevent the homeowner from putting a pool in his backyard, but we do need to follow the regulations. The homeowner comments in the chat, what other type of solution may be amenable? I think there's.
I think I think you have some professionals working for you. I think they're the ones that you should be asking what can and cannot be done. We're not going to design the project for you. We're trying to just do what we're a volunteer board, and we just try to follow the rules. We have granted waivers before, but it usually is associated with some sort of condition on the site or some sort of restoration or something else. The professionals that you have can come up with some different things. I think they're well versed in what the regulations say, and they're probably familiar with different things that have happened. We just don't want to talk about what ifs and give you a number. You need to demonstrate to us that you're somehow protecting the wetlands and doing some sort of enhancement. And I don't know if Scott has anything to add to that as your representative.
Yeah, we can certainly go back to the drawing board and see if we can make the plan more amenable to the commission. That would be my opinion, is to give that a shot and go ahead and continue and try to come back for June with a few of the recommended changes and see what else we can come up with. That would be my recommendation. If Mr. Dovale would like to continue.
Yeah, and again, our main goal is to protect the wetlands. So whatever you're doing, just think about that. That's what we want to see, is protecting that. And that's what that 25-foot no disturbance is for.
So at the moment, we're waiting for the homeowner to chat in if he would like to continue or not.
So he just added a comment there.
It looks like we have a request to continue to the next meeting.
Just so that it's a little bit more difficult when you're doing a remote session and the applicant is kind of is trying to type in and so forth. So I just want to just explain. I mean, basically all we're doing is we'll continue to the June 16th meeting, give your professionals, your representatives, an opportunity to kind of tweak the plan and maybe come up with an approach. And I'll leave it to them. And then what we would do is have a similar type of meeting, it's the same kind of public hearing. It'll be on the 16th. And obviously, it's all about protecting the wetlands. And if you can demonstrate that, again, I don't think anyone on the commission wants to stop you from having a pool. So I just want to make sure you're you understand that we'll just continue to the next meeting, and then what we'll do next is we'll make a motion to continue, and then we'll have to go through the due process of seconding it and voting on it, and then we would see you June 16th. And again, I'm just kind of going a little bit more detail of the explanation just so that you understand the process, and I know that Scott could also explain this to you at a separate time. So seeing that there was a request for a continuance, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to June 16th.
Helen Genie here. I second that motion.
Thank you. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Helen
Yes.
and Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well to continue to the June 16th meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. All right,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Scott.
Okay. Does that just leave the continuances left,
Let me look.
or is there anything else?
And then I just had one quick item for you guys. Just need to pull up a map real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we had a question come in about Pell Farm, which is one of the conservation properties that we take care of. So this is Pell Farm that you're looking at right now. It's on both sides of the road. Currently, we have the parking area for folks is this long grassy field right here. That's where the sign is on the right-hand side of the road if you were heading up Soap Hill Road. So it's designated as the parking area. DPW mows it for us to keep it open for folks to park in. The Bay State Trail Riders have their annual trail ride here. They did it last year, and 1 or 2 meetings ago, they came and got another application to do it again this year. Their question to us is, I guess, for all the previous years, they have utilized this in here, which is the access road when it was a Christmas tree farm. Folks would drive in here, and this was the lot where you would pick out your tree. So I guess the Bay State Trail Riders have used that area for their trailers and such when it's the date of their ride. Now that it has not been a Christmas tree farm for a little while, it's starting to grow in. So they asked if the commission would consider mowing once again this area, and they offered to help fund that mowing. However, I posed the question to them of why is this parking down here not adequate, and they just found that they could fit more trailers in the second area. But I said I would have to ask you guys how you wanted to manage that area going forward. We have a very stretched mowing budget. We were looking for the June town meeting to ask for funding for the DPW to purchase a brush hog so that we would be able to do that mowing in-house. But if we get permission to do that, our conservation land maintenance budget would be significantly reduced by the amount we currently spend on mowing. So there's not a lot of wiggle room to add in fields here and there, but I wanted to see what you guys felt, as it would be a change to what we've been doing with the property for a few years. So I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's sort of a single use case for one group.
In my opinion, I think we should not particularly mow that second area where the parking was originally, only because if we had very deep pockets, it wouldn't be an issue, but we need, where there is other space that we need to maintain and spend our funding wisely. And also the 1 or 2 time use, does that really constitute mowing? I mean, I don't want to rain on any group's parade, but if you only have so much in your kitty, you gotta kind of divide it. That's my opinion anyways.
Yeah.
So Leah, when the area that the town mows, how often do they mow it during the summer?
I actually don't know how often, but it's often enough that the handful of times I go out there, you're perfectly able to drive a car in there and park. So they do a really good job. And to be honest with you, Pell Farm is one of the properties we have with the most parking available. We have plenty of others where you can only fit a car or two. It's a big field. I mean, the aerial doesn't quite do it justice, but
Is there any environmental advantage to keeping that other area open? I'm just trying to go through the kind of process and
sure. So the way that I see it, or the knowledge that I have would be that we tend to mow for grassland bird habitat. Now, those types of birds require certain amounts of acreage or square footage in order to actually live there. So it's got to be big open fields. That's why Hennessy is one of our most successful in terms of habitat, because it's the biggest and most open that we have. So mowing one little patch in the middle of what's already woods is not going to attract those specific grassland birds we're looking for. Personally, I almost see it as better to let it complete the woods and not have a hole in the middle of the woods anymore. But that's just me.
No, I'm just wondering because I know on certain things we mow to maintain habitat, which
Correct.
to me is kind of what we're supposed to be doing. And so I'm just wondering on this one, I have strong feelings. I do agree with Helen that we're not going to contribute or add any money to doing that for a 1 or 2 time use a year. I know they offered to provide some support, but that's once or twice a year versus what the town's doing. It doesn't seem to equate. That's all.
If they are willing to pay for the entire thing, are we amenable to that if it comes up?
Yeah, that's why I asked the question about habitat.
To me, it seems like if there's already a parking area there, I don't see a huge benefit to any other use other than this one-time use, one group use.
I almost worry if that would set a bad precedent. So if some other group of another type of use has a specific thing they want to accomplish and they offer to fund it,
we'd be obligated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why to me, it's all environmental based. If it, helps habitat or something, then I'd be open to it. But if there's no overarching reason to do it, I think let nature take its course.
Okay. Then the only other thing I have, unless you guys want to talk about that more, are the continuances.
I'm all set.
I'm all set too.
Jonathan, you all set on that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the last continuance I read was
18
Woods.
Okay.
Yep.
So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will reopen public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom. to act upon a notice of intent. Application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw Permit, and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw Permit for the construction of a 39 lot subdivision at 88 Adams Road called The Ridings in Grafton, Massachusetts. The application is on file and available for public inspection in the Conservation Commission office Monday through Friday. The application has requested a continuance to June 16th. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we continue the application for 88 Adams Road until June 16th.
I second that motion.
Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well to continue to June 16th. The motion passes. So 100 Westboro Road, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent, application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw Permit, and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw Permit for the construction of a mixed-use development at 100 Westboro Road, Grafton, Massachusetts. The application is on file and available for public inspection in the Conservation Commission office Monday through Friday. The application has requested a continuance to June 16th. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we continue 100 Westboro Road until June 16th.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well to continue to June 16th, and the motion passes. And finally, 124 Rear North Street and 73 Old Westboro Road, wetland delineation. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 via Zoom to act upon an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and request for determination of applicability for the delineation of resource areas at 124 Rear North Street and 73 Rear Old Westboro Road, Grafton, Massachusetts. The application is on file and available for public inspection in the Conservation Commission office Monday through Friday. Applicant has requested a continuance to June 16th. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for 124 Rear North Street and 73 Rear Old Westboro Road to June 16th.
I second that.
Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well to continue to June 16th. And the motion passes. And I believe that's everything. Except for one final motion.
Seeing nothing else being talked about, I'll make a motion to close this public hearing.
I second that.
Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. The meeting is adjourned.